Today I'm going to be talking about the rise of fake podcasts. And this is something that I kind of feel attacked. Because is this a fake podcast? Essentially, this is fake YouTube therapy. Is it only a fake podcast if I talk like this and I talk to nobody? What accentuates a fake podcast? So today we're going to talk about that. This is YouTube therapy where I talk about problems and things that are keeping me up at night. And therapists cost $200 an hour and YouTube is free. And I value people's opinions. So I like to see the comments on these things. So if you get something from it, please leave a comment. And subscribe because, that's just what people do. But so if you don't know, my name is Ryan Magin. I run a company called Viral Edits. We edit about 4,000 short form videos a month. I work with a lot of really big name influencers, some of which have NDAs, and a lot of people that you already see on the internet. And I myself have gotten over 100 million views on short form content across all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all of them. So with that said, let's talk about fake podcasts because I'm torn here because I think some things are used for good and some things are used for bad. And there's a rise of very attractive women turning to a 45-degree angle and talking to no one. And it's very clear that they're using scripts. I personally don't want a podcast. So I technically do have a fake podcast. I have a fake podcast studio. This studio has multiple sets. You see them behind me. I have some over here. I have special rooms. I only own this studio because I work with clients and clients come in here and we manage all their short form content and we need to aggressively, bang out hundreds of videos in single sittings from a time efficiency standpoint for these creators that are very busy. And I'm also responsible for creators where we clip actual podcasts and make those clips go viral. We specialize in finding viral moments. So I myself love the idea of long form content, but I also don't think everyone should have a podcast, myself included. I mean, I don't know. Having a podcast, if I'm interviewing a guest or they're interviewing me, I think that's cool. And I think that's, that is what it is. But there's also people doing that are paying people to come on the podcast, and they're also being paid to come on the podcast. And the podcast people are paying for people to come and be on their podcast. So essentially, that is also a fake podcast because it's not just two people sitting down to talk. And most of the bigger podcasts are, yes, two people sitting down to talk. And the argument is like, well, not everybody deserves a podcast. I've been told that under comments under my videos that are filmed with this table, except one person sitting here and one person sitting here, and we're looking at each other. So I'm going to talk about the effectiveness of fake podcasts because everyone that's mad about them right now is right. Most people get on a podcast and they talk about nothing. So at least if we eliminate the fact of the conversation, at least we can get good clips and people can talk in complete sentences and then they can make it look. But the reality is these people aren't filming fake podcasts. They're just using a set and they're turning to look at nothing. I know one girl looks at her Louis Vuitton duffel bag. Kind of a flex, not going to lie. It's pretty cool. She makes really good clips. So I think the argument here is not so much about fake podcasts, but it's what's being sold or if things are being sold or if it's a conversation. Because even if I say, because I have people come in here and film with me all the time, but I don't really want to film a long form podcast. I want to film to get millions of views on my shorts and on my TikTok and my Instagram and on my reels because my business is driven by the views that I get on those platforms. One from, in some cases, creator fund money or like money. The other one is from people see my videos getting views and they know I have a company that does this. I have a done for you service, which is what separates me from most people. Most people are doing this and they just tell you how to do it and then you do it yourself, usually in the form of courses or coaching. And inherently, I like courses and coaching. I like being able to buy information from people to compress time frames. And if I deem them somebody worthy to learn from. So, the idea that a fake podcast is bad, I think is wrong. The idea that courses are bad, I think is wrong. But I also, on the flip side, I see why everyone hates them, because it does feel slightly manipulating. Because, I know there was controversy in the past of people faking Joe Rogan's podcast set to look like they were on Joe Rogan, and they ran those as ads. And eventually Joe Rogan sued them, and I think he won. So good on Rogan. But the reality is if you struggle making content, putting yourself in a podcast setting makes it easier to make content. And content is the lifeblood of everyone's business right now and everyone's brand. So I see the allure of the fake podcast. And this even, brings in another level of debauchery, if you will, of agencies that have the podcast sets that you can rent out to let people come in and use the the podcast sets in a fake manner. But ultimately, I think if you struggle making videos and knowing what to say, I think it's a good thing. But I do agree with one specific thing. And I've watched a couple of videos by people talking about the fake podcast, and inherently, it almost feels like there's a factory in Miami. There's like different factories in Miami, I feel like. There's like the fake podcast factory that is spitting out attractive females to sell courses, and the course is, they're all kind of affiliate marketing, and you have to buy the course and then be able to sell the course, which has MLM vibes, but it's not really an MLM. It's just an affiliate program. And I think this is also where people get manipulated and they start getting twisted because they're like, courses are bad. But if you like a product and you sell that product and you get a commission, that's cool. That's business. That's awesome. That's free marketing for the business owner. And that's you letting your audience know about a product that served you well. I think the problem inherently comes in when you sell a shitty product. And, arguably, Rise Energy, I really like the Sunny D flavor. If I got commission because people bought this, cool. I don't work with Rise. Same thing with iPhones. I have iPhones. I have multiple iPhones. I have cameras. I feel like the problem is inherently with culture right now that if you sell digital information, you're considered a scammer, because digital information, specifically coming up from the Gen Alpha generation, is a level of they deem it free. And because ultimately anything you learn on the internet was stolen and manipulated and regurgitated in some way, shape, or form. The benefit of courses is can somebody compartmentalize all this information in a unique way and then sell it to help somebody achieve an outcome on a compressed time frame? And most people, that's ultimately why you're buying courses. Like if you could buy a degree from Harvard and it only took you, 6 weeks instead of 4 years, I bet a lot of people would do that because it's compressing the time frame. And there is status behind the Harvard. And you're not afraid to pay Harvard because Harvard has a brand, it has a name. The problem is now we have a lot of just anybody's creators can come in and they can start talking. But this is where you have to, like you're Gen Alpha, Gen Z, the millennial, you got to do due diligence and learn who are you watching. Don't just buy a course off one video. Do some research. Who is this person? Watch some more videos. Do you resonate with what they said? Eliminate the fact that they might be talking to no one. Are the words good? Do the words feel scripted? But even if they are scripted, are they scripted because they maybe struggle to talk and they want to talk and they want to get better? I don't think there's a problem with that. That's how you get better as a human being and you get better as a content creator. Because there is absolutely zero difference of if I talk directly to the camera or if you remove the camera and you put a person there, or if I turn 45 degrees and I say the same thing to nobody and I'm just talking to myself. Maybe I'm talking to my Saint Laurent wallet. How you doing today, bro? You got a nice leather finish on you. You were a little bit expensive. Why were you expensive? So it really doesn't matter who you talk to. It's just a matter of the information being delivered and if it's any good. And I think inherently most people's information is not good because they're forcefully trying to regurgitate information to grow a following. And arguably a lot of them are doing it very well, because if you take an attractive female, you get her, put her in some makeup, she has perfect teeth, great smile, good outfit, aesthetic set. That is branding and marketing 101. You have to be aesthetically pleasing to look at to get your message heard. So I have a really hard time with getting upset at the fake podcast, but I do think there should be another person. Whether or not you're going to take that clip or that long form and put it somewhere else, maybe on YouTube or on Spotify, that's what deems a podcast. But ultimately, because I work with some of the biggest podcasters, their goal is clips. They need the clips for the exposure to get the traffic back to their podcast so you watch the full thing. So ultimately, do they have a fake podcast? So I think we're in a weird place. I think Gen Alpha is kind of the culprit right now because they're incredibly smart and they're coming into technology at a rapid pace and they are skeptical. They question everything, but that's where you have to kind of, as you get older and you've been around the block a little bit, you have to realize that it's okay to do research. Like, don't just buy somebody's shit right away. I talk a lot of, to clients and things about the lifespan of a buyer. And it used to be a lot easier. Like, if you made one good video, usually you can convince somebody by the end of it to buy your product. And I've been selling products on the internet for over 10 years. If you look up my name and research me, I was selling digital courses, helping guys to dress better to get laid. Like, that was my business. It did well for a while, and then I got burned out of that and I didn't want to do it anymore, partially because my values and beliefs changed. But all that's still there. I don't delete anything on the internet. Like, prior to that, I was a professional BMX racer teaching guys how to get faster on their bike. If you search deep enough, you'll find a YouTube channel that shows videos of me doing that. You don't see a lot of that because I listened to Gary Vee and I put all those videos on Vidler. Later to find out Gary Vee was an investor in Vidler, and that was the only reason why he was having people post there. But did Gary have a fake podcast? So, point being is you got to learn to do some research and due diligence and learn about people before you invest money, especially large sums of money like $1,000 courses, $2,000 courses. And you have to ultimately accept responsibility that you're investing in this person and their information. So it's kind of on you to extract whatever you need from that to justify and validate the price tag that you paid. And if they're not delivering that in the course, well, then they failed, and then but a lot of people buy things with a desperation type of mindset that ultimately ends up making them more and more skeptical, and they will never, buy something or a course or coaching or from anybody in the future because they are skeptical and they got burned because they bought one or two courses that they didn't really fulfill. But I would argue that if you bought a course from somebody, whether it be somebody looking at a 45-degree angle in a bright colored chair with nobody else in the room, or it be from anybody, I would argue if they got you to take out your wallet and invest, then you can learn something from them, just from the process that they got you to do that from. I think most people are very scarce-minded when it comes to buying things in general. And it's like sometimes just the path of buying something is worth the price that you're paying because, wow, that was a really good ad. That was a really good fake podcast clip. That was a really good ManyChat funnel. That was a really good webinar. Like, that was a really good long-form YouTube video that at the end sold me something. So I think that we're going to see a rise of people. Everyone's going to be selling something at some point. Like, there's no such thing as free content. Like, that ship has sailed. People don't create for the fun of creation. They create because they need to fuel their business or their potential business, or, because eventually, yes, you might make videos for fun, but eventually it becomes a job and you have to show up to work every day, whether you feel like it or not. And as your responsibilities get higher and higher, and if you actually do grow a legitimate type of business where you have to hire contractors, agencies, employees, you're dealing with people and management of people, and then you're hiring people to manage people, then you have to sell more because now you have livelihoods attached to different things. And, I believe in the job economy. I believe in all of that. So I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that at all because I do it. I sell things. Like, I sell a service as the main and the forefront. I charge a lot of money for that. But we are very diligent on the results that we get people. And if we're not, I don't expect people to pay. And there's also an inherent lack of integrity in these spaces, and all spaces, is they don't generally care about the results of the client. And there is power in how did you make money before? Like, it's trackably proven that I can show you can see all the videos where I sold digital products and courses. I don't have links to those products and courses because I don't believe in them anymore, just based on my own values. So those things aren't for sale. But all those videos where I promoted are still out there. Like, there's an entire YouTube channel. Call it Handsome Guy Secrets. Like, you can type it in, it's all there. But do research. Like, when it comes to selling things, the longer somebody's been in the game, the more credibility they have. And people make mistakes and people do things. I know a lot of people are comparing, like, seeing people that used to sell MLMs. Well, yeah, people are going to sell shit to people if people are stupid enough to buy it. And I don't think there's something wrong with that, just as long as the product's good. A lot of people, people want to consume and they want to buy and they want to invest and they want opportunities. There's nothing wrong with that. So with that said, I'm still going to have kind of a fake podcast and fake therapy sessions. I'm going to do it all. But the one takeaway is there will always be somebody across from me. That's one thing that I've always kind of been like, well, it feels weird to me to talk to nobody. So I'm going to have somebody there. But that person could just be my friend. It doesn't have to be somebody famous. And if you struggle to make content, I would urge you to just sit you and your friend down. And you can have your friend ask you questions. You don't have to put that long form clip somewhere. I like the podcast method. I think it's good. I think it's a good way for people to get, stuff out. I actually have people pay me to help them do this type of thing. So the difference with me is I'm very transparent about that, because when people do it with me, they get millions of views. So, and if they don't, I give them a refund, or I work with them until we get results that are applicable for each of us. That makes sense, because that's integrity and that's values that I share. I'm not just selling something to just extract money, But if you do find yourself buying a course that a lot of people are selling, and that course might not be a real course. That course might be somebody made it, and now they're giving rights to people to sell it. They call that MRR. It's master resale rights. That's been going on for decades. There used to be, you could PLR, private label rights. Like, a lot of your supplements that you buy are not actual supplements that they formulated. There's white label creatine. There's white label energy drinks. There's white label, all these different things. But at the end of the day, you have to have a brand. And the brand is what actually sells the product. In most cases now, that's a person. That's what they call a personal brand. Do you want to invest in people's personalities that you vibe with? And I do think that a lot of these people that are doing it are doing that well. They're getting people to like them. But eventually, people want substance. And if they're not giving you substance, they're going to leave. So to wrap this up, if you're seeing what looks like a fake podcast clip, it probably is. But that's okay. Is the information good? Were you entertained? Did you learn something? Did you get an aha moment? I think if that's you, I think then you got something from that video, and that you shouldn't be mad at the person because they were talking to nobody, So again, I will never not talk to nobody. There's always going to be somebody there. And I'll make sure to put that clip in where it's a back and forth conversation. I think you should do the same. That's it for today's therapy session. Peace.